AI could actually find things probably earlier than those simple rules or humans even looking at and just saying, hey, every time I see a pattern like this, you've reported there being sickness in the barn before, or there could be problems with people managing the slides as well at the sites, and they're not opening them when one bin goes empty and you're supposed to open up the other bin. This is one we talk a lot about, and being able to watch for that transition and identify it without making false positives, we've had to rely more and more on AI.
Welcome to the Poultry Podcast Show. Today, I'm here with Nathan Hoel. Welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be on the show today.
I'm really excited to talk about some current and future viewpoints for the use of AI in poultry industry overall. But first, I want to hear, how did you get to your current position?
Yeah, it's kind of more roundabout, I think, for anyone that's in agriculture. Most people, I believe, that are in agriculture probably grew up on a farm or doing farm work of some kind or having a family member in there. But I came to it after being in my career for about 15 years already in high tech in the development industry, really. Mm-hmm. So I went to university. I got a Bachelor of Mathematics and Computer Science at the University of Waterloo. It's one of the best universities in the world for this. They're heavily recruited by a lot of the big companies that you would expect to hear from. There's Google in town, and many of those big, large tech companies are headhunting from there. So from there, though, I've gone to a number of different companies, primarily startups, that worked in a couple of different industries: education, finance, and also marketing as well. And all of them were high-tech ones. And I have more of a software architecture background. And I haven't even worked with hardware before coming here. That would lead probably naturally to asking the question, how in the world did this opportunity even fall into your lap?
Yes. Yeah.
So myself and the other co-founder, when we began, we had an opportunity that came to us pretty naturally, where someone had asked us, can you figure out how much is inside of my feed bin, which is very close to where we are today. It hasn't pivoted, too much from there. It's definitely grown in complexity of what we do. And honestly, we thought that was something that should already have been solved at this point in the world, at the current level of tech that, the world's at by now. And this was around 2017. And it went from an interesting question to very quickly asking questions in the industry and getting back responses or other questions back to us like, are you going to solve this? Are you trying to solve this problem that we've had for 50 plus years? They have load cells. They can measure how much is inside of bins for a long time. Load cells are like weigh scales that you have in your bathroom or your kitchen. But they're just on the bottom of the legs, and they can freeze, and they need calibration. They cost a lot of money, like tens of thousands of dollars. And they usually just read out on a display right there at the site. But that's not what people are imagining when they think of this technology, where everything is being sent back to the cloud, back to the internet, where you can combine all of this information. And so that opportunity kind of came around to us, and we decided to take the chance to try and solve this. And it's worked out really well ever since. The thing that I think is great from coming from a non-agriculture background is I have had a lot of exposure in multiple other companies, how to scale a cloud infrastructure, how to scale a company technology-wise, R&D, like engineering-wise, and bring a lot of modern techniques to this industry and a lot of know-how rather than starting from, working out of a barn, trying to solve a problem and trying to learn the technology side. We have definitely had to learn the agriculture side, but we also hired a lot of people who knew that part and have added onto our ability to understand the problem set. But it's been very helpful not having to learn how the software high-tech industry works from the ground up.
Yeah, that is such an interesting path, but all industries have a need for people with outside expertise to come solve their problems they've got. So this sounds like a really, really neat.
That's true. I think a lot of interesting solutions do come from outsiders coming in to another industry where something, this happens a lot in science actually, where, research into biology comes into research into AI, for instance, or even people who were working in physics, realizing that mathematics had solved this problem 50 years ago. And, a mathematician comes into that and they realize that the one off the top of my mind is that, matrices have actually already been solved a long time ago and physicists arrived at it a different way, and so just any kind of different field coming in can sometimes bring new ideas to it.
Perfect point. Sometimes the collaboration solves the problem faster than two groups working independently.
Yeah.
BinSentry is the global leader in animal feed supply chain management, monitoring tens of thousands of feed bins every day. Our technology helps poultry integrators and feed mills enter a new era of increased efficiency, lower costs, higher profitability, and improved worker safety. BinSentry's AI-powered sensors and software replace feed inventory guesstimates and manual processes with precise real-time inventory data and decision-making. The BinSentry operating advantage is clear, and it's why we're trusted by some of agriculture's biggest names. Learn more by visiting www.binsentry.com today.
So just on the topic of AI and the feed industry, it sounds kind of like this is a perfect segue into how you might have solved some of the issues in terms of weighing bins and understanding how much feed is left. But what are the biggest opportunities for AI to help the poultry feed industry overall? Because there's more problems than just knowing feed bin weights.
There's a lot of different things that can be solved by AI. Let me just start from the ground up. AI, there's different forms of AI as well. I think a lot of what's in the news today, people recognize, and that would be chatbots. So things like ChatGPT or Gemini or XAI, Meta, stuff like that. And they are probably interacting with these at this point, if not just cursory or, because they're a bit curious. But there's also still AI development in what I would say purpose-built or single-purpose AI models that are there to solve specific pattern recognition. And that's something that AI is really good at is pattern recognition and being able to do that at a scale and in a way that humans can't replicate, at least not easily without thousands of them. And so it does take a while to train them to do this, but once you have trained them, they can often find these patterns better and tirelessly. That's the other thing, is they just don't shut off. And sometimes they make different mistakes than us, but it's often less, but weird mistakes, ones we would catch, but they're also catching a bunch of things that we would miss. And so giving that base description of it, what falls into this pattern matching, purpose-built AI situation. I think that's what we ask ourselves a lot of. And with a single data point from our sensors, mainly being what is the inventory inside of bins, you can actually answer a lot of other questions using AI on that data itself. Because you can actually think about this as we have inventory, but we actually have a second data point, which is time. So we have inventory over time, which leads to being able to understand what the consumption rate for the animals are. And anyone that's in poultry knows that that's a really important metric. And it might not be direct consumption, but it is a disappearance of feed inside of the bin, which correlates heavily to the consumption. And from that, you can see a lot of operational issues. You can see health issues potentially. And there's a lot of opportunity in there for actually understanding what is going on inside of your operations at a distance. Whereas before, you were either relying on really poor secondhand information jotted down in physical charts, or no information at all, and just hoping that the operations inside of these barns are actually running correctly. And so maybe I should get more specific with this. I would say with the consumption, if there was an order that was supposed to, or a delivery that was supposed to happen, and the bin stayed empty and didn't go up, we can tell you that logistically, you probably had a truck go to the wrong place. And because we're monitoring other ones as well, we can also say that it probably went to this location. And that's pretty easy, probably not even on the AI side, but then we can do other things as well, which would be, have we started deviating from the expected amount of feed that the animals at this age should be consuming? And that's the type of pattern matching where you can make a simple rule for looking for that, but AI could actually find things probably earlier than those simple rules, or humans even looking at and just saying, hey, every time I see a pattern like this, you've reported there being sickness in the barn before, or there could be problems with people managing the slides as well at the sites, and they're not opening them when one bin goes empty and you're supposed to open up the other bin. This is one we talk a lot about, and being able to watch for that transition and identify it without making false positives, we've had to rely more and more on AI. It sounds simple, but at the end of the day, trying to build these algorithms, to build these pattern matching solutions has actually been a lot harder in practice. And so we've leaned a lot on AI to do that. And so those are all ones just based in around the feed bin and this one data point, where you could actually get a lot better at actually doing what you want to do just from feeding. Additionally, if I may, one other area that I think that this could work in quite a bit, it would be truck routing and truckload deliveries. Is having, I'm not talking about telling them what route to take from site A to site B. That's fairly well solved by Google. Anyone can go on Google Maps, or you can buy some of these higher enterprise systems that tell you, and they track over GPS where you've gone and everything. But what I mean is helping schedule both the dispatching of loads to different locations and the running of the order of the mill schedule as well. These things are often pretty ad hoc created right now, especially without being able to forecast too far into the future. And being able to order those in a more sensible way, like if you have 3 days that you could deliver to this bin on before it goes empty, going on the first possible day might not be the best thing. Going on the last possible day might not be the best thing. It really depends on if you have too many loads going out on the last possible day, you might want to move it slightly earlier, even if you could put a little bit more in the bin. And these are things that there's just too many numbers for people to play around with. And from my understanding and my experience here is a lot of these teams running the dispatch teams are running at full capacity. They're probably running over full capacity, where they spend more than the number of hours they're supposed to be working. They work weekends sometimes, just trying to get trucks to locations without them running out, where they don't have a lot of time to think, well, should I have moved that one from Wednesday to Thursday? Would that have made it a lot better? And running all of these different scenarios. So there's a lot of different ways, just monitoring your demand on these actual locations against reality, that you can take AI, and I'm just scratching the surface. There's so many more things here where you could think of operationally. If we're trying to do something efficiently, finding the most efficient solution is one of the things that computers have been good at doing for 50, 60 years. So
Man, I can imagine all the applications might might take you quite a long time to list them all off, but those sound like some really interesting ones that truly would change the face of somebody's operation in their day. So those are great starting points. So I feel like AI is also kind of a scary thing, and there's a lot of misconceptions just because you hear what other people are saying, and maybe another company had a bad experience with an outcome because you say they make different mistakes than humans do. So what do you think some of the misconceptions or fears are just about AI and the technologies that might use them?
Yeah. And again, it's a good question. I'll come back to talking about that base difference between chatbots or LLMs, large language models, and purpose-built AI models. I think today, the large language models, the chatbots, the industry is very early on in the production level of that quality. And I think everyone's been somewhat acclimatized to it a bit. When you ask questions to it, you're not entirely surprised when it messes up a little bit, but it can be helpful in making a lot of copyright if you needed to, put out an email or a marketing campaign or something like that. And then you're going to go over it and make sure everything sounded correct. Or you might end up in one of those embarrassing situations where you see big corporate companies put out something that was clearly done by AI and there's some really glaring mistake in it. I mean, we make mistakes too, but I guess one great example for this would be is generative AI for images. AI often adds too many fingers to humans' hands. This is a little bit older problem, right? Like it hasn't happened for the last year, but that's just an example of humans weren't really adding too many fingers to drawings, but yeah. And so it's funny, but it points out where it's like, wow, it can make this amazing thing, but it just puts too many fingers on their hand. And I think that's a great example of what some of them are like when they've used them in their operations. Now, I don't actually think there's a lot of AI tools that have been available in agriculture before to actually have burned people that much, but I do think they see them burning people in other industries or in other situations. So I think this goes into some of the other topics we want to talk about today, but I would suggest that you need to walk before you can run, but that doesn't mean but the answer is not bury your head in the sand either, right? And so what you want to do is you want to start introducing a lot of these AI features into your software to be able to suggest changes, to be able to suggest schedules to people, and having the ability to manually take control of them whenever possible. We get this feedback. Even sometimes we forget this feedback. We already know this, and sometimes we even forget. But we have a lot of AI notifications that go out to people. And we've also had to introduce ways of being able to snooze some of those notifications if they get too noisy and stuff like that. But in the background, we can then, as long as we've given the control to people, the ones running these businesses, we can try and make them better and better and better in the background so that it gets less and less where you have to take too much manual control over it. It's similar to the way that self-driving cars are being introduced into the wild as well, where it's just driving assist right now, and it's being improved and improved. And I don't know what point that every problem that has its own what they call tractability, how well it's going to be able to be solved. But that's a really difficult one. But that's a way to show here's a dangerous scenario and here's how you safely introduce this by letting humans continue to have control, but giving them added value and benefits as you introduce that behind the scenes.
Yeah. So having like a little lifeguard around.
Yeah,
exactly.
At Zoetis, we bring you more than the tools for hatchery success. We bring you a team, expert support, biodevice precision, and vaccine protection, helping you raise field-ready birds with a strong immune foundation. The Zoetis Hatchery Health Team. Trusted people, science-backed processes, reliable protection. Learn more at zoetis.com.
So agriculture is a sector that is just kind of in its infancy in terms of getting technologies that work along with humans. So how do you think we can effectively help agriculture just give AI a chance? I mean, is it introducing like the technologies in small steps? Is it maybe assisting something that people don't want to do? Like they don't want to physically go weigh that bin on a daily basis. They want to know what it is.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a little bit of, there's going to be a whole lot of different things that we want to do. I think, to be honest, I think agriculture has been adopting technology longer than any other profession in the world, essentially. For thousands of years, much of the innovation has been around how we yield crops and take care of animals. And you can see machinery and tractors and all of these things have been introduced. And I think that the key, or one of the keys I'll mention, is meeting people where they're working right now. Not trying to change everything on them. And that's why I mentioned before, you might want to suggest schedules that they then enter and follow and make adaptations to themselves. But instead of just trying to say, hey, we're going to take full control and you have to just trust everything this does, take everything or nothing, take it all or leave it. So I think that's the wrong way to go about it. And so meeting people where they're at, and I think this goes for any a lot of technology adoption. Well, at least in areas where there's a large consequence for being wrong. Maybe in more consumer markets, there's places where consumers will adopt and change quickly, but usually there's a lot less risk involved in that. So we've been more mature in the way that we approach that and trying to make sure that we don't put anything at risk and we're just adding value. And I think that's the second thing that I would mention here is it really helps to answer the biggest and most real problems that producers and mills and vertical integrators for poultry that they actually have. If you're just making some kind of flashy feature with AI that doesn't solve a real problem that costs them a lot of money, then there's going to be a lot more hesitance to adopting it. And so that's why I was talking about a lot of those operational things that they deal with every day, where they're like, yes, that actually takes me a lot of time, or we spend a lot of money every time that goes wrong. And I think the necessity will drive the curiosity, will drive the reward being higher than whatever perceived risk there might actually be there. And we try, like I said, to remove the risk entirely by leaving it still in their hands and letting them just add value to what they're doing.
Yeah. So you kind of answered my next question, but what's the balance between the cutting edge technologies and just how we always do things? Like, how do we kind of push them, the people who might be hesitant or a little scared, to start trying some of these things?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. If someone knew the magic answer, I'd love for them to come and tell us or work for us. I think another interesting aspect here is that the pull to do nothing different is very strong. The status quo and same old, don't do anything different is very strong. And that's not industry specific. That's just humans, I think, in general. And so, yeah, as I had mentioned in my previous answer, I think that goes over a lot of this is meeting people where they're at with it. And there is this walk before you can run mentality with helping them get to that end point and understanding that these technologies can help them. And so we spend a lot of time talking about return on investment, proving to them with data, and that's actually been a big piece, is being able to prove with numbers that here's how you were operating, here's how you could operate. and look how much you've improved even just over piloting with us with our technology. And so we're really big believers that anything we do, we should be able to measure the difference. And I think the agriculture world really likes to measure these things. They're very analytical about these types of changes. And that also can lead to, like I said, them being cautious and slow because they need to see that measured change here. And I think that's great. We internally make changes to our own company based off of the same thing. And so we have to help them see those in the numbers, in the studies. And it can be messy because every operation, every customer is different. So we really partner with a lot of our customers in looking through their data, understanding where their weaknesses are, and trying to build the software so that it actually solves real actionable problems that they had, just like I said before.
Yeah. So how is a company then like BinSentry using AI, and what are some of the tangible improvements that you've seen, maybe just on a large scale, if you don't want to give like a customer's magic bullet that is their proprietary kind of change they made, but just like what are some things that you've seen that definitely gets you over the hump to get the new technology adoption?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier in the show that being able to know just for slide management, that's something that we focus on as a company. We realized there's a massive amount that was going unseen altogether there. And that's, we talk about just putting the sensors in gives you visibility into part of your operations that you've never seen into before. And we started detecting when slides were not being opened because you can see one bin goes empty and the other one has feed inside of it. And it does not, no feed comes out. The consumption rate changes on the barn. And this is almost exactly this. Well, it is essentially exactly the same to the animals as in a complete outage. There's no feed inside the troughs. And so being able to identify these issues and send notifications and send them directly to the people that are operating on the farms, the producers, has helped lower the average length of time in responding to these issues. And that changes FCR, the feed conversion ratio. And traditionally, if they could see a 1-point improvement on FCR, that would be incredible for these operators, these vertical integrators, or people who are producing the animals. And we've shown evidence with customers of upwards of a 7-point improvement on FCR. So, and we've had other customers that said the same thing. If I could see a single point of improvement, that would pay for everything that we're doing with you. And so those, that's a real strong hallmark, but I'm a firm believer that's things that people, that's the why they buy and why they buy into the solution right now. But I believe people who have been with us the longest actually have a huge amount of other reasons operationally that they have seen that go even beyond that are just harder to quantify as simply as that one. That one's huge and impactful, but there's a lot of other ones just in running things smoothly, not working on weekends and as much, and getting better data and being able to plan ahead more and being more accurate in their financials. There's just so many different things that are a little bit hard to package all up in that first one. And that FCR point is like the one we really try to knock home with people, but it's the people who've been here the longest that realize it's like an iceberg. There's just so much more that gets better under the covers.
Poultry Star from DSM Firmenich is a poultry-specific product that combines the benefits of probiotics and prebiotics to enhance gut health. The probiotic strains in Poultry Star are isolated from healthy birds, not soil, ensuring excellent adaptability. The prebiotics support the growth of beneficial bacteria, creating a balanced gut environment. Poultry Star is ideal for use during key stress periods, after antibiotic treatments, and when transitioning between feeds. With over 20 years on the market, it's a proven way to boost your bird's health and performance. Learn more at dsm-firmenich.com/poultrystar.
Exactly. Is there anything that you wanted to highlight that we didn't touch on, or anything you just really wanted to like hit the point home in terms of just overall understanding AI and how it can be used, or like maybe a Cliff's Notes for someone who's looking for kind of a good summary to maybe convince someone to help in their own company to adopt AI?
I think we covered a lot of the elements that were important, but one thing I might say is that BinSentry as a company is using AI itself. And we are right here with everyone else adopting it as this huge wave of change is coming. And we have to do the same thing. We have to weed out what is hype and been overhyped by the industry, and what is getting lost in the noise, and what true gems and things are out there, because there are real changes. I think that some people saying that, you hear of in the tech industry, for instance, I'll just bring this part up, is like tens of thousands of layoffs in the tech industry being replaced by AI in those situations. I don't think that's a direct correlation, like their jobs are being done by that or anything in those situations. I think that it's a convenient answer for them. But there's also people who are saying, oh, it's not going to do anything. This is just another bubble, and that things are going to go back to normal. It's a fad. And I think that's absolutely crazy. I sit here, I worked for 20 years in software development, and I have used the AI coding tools for programming. So BinSentry using these tools themselves. And it's incredible. It's over a year ago, I would not have been saying the same thing. And this year, it has changed everything. You can make a prototype by, giving a sentence, and an entire prototype can spawn out of nowhere. And that's not something you could do before with AI. And there's very real ways that it's changing, and it's constantly improving. And so what I'm saying is that BinSentry itself, we have had to learn to walk through this whole industry and experience this just like our customers are as well. And so we're trying to actually take that additional learning of, man, what would we have really appreciated when we were trying to choose technologies? How would we have liked to see it delivered to us? What kind of help would we have liked? I keep thinking it would be great if I could have an example out there, but there is not really any. There's very few people who actually really, really get it. And I'm not sure, even the ones who really do get it, they would be the first ones to admit they don't know even 70% of what's going on. And,
Yeah.
And so we're trying to do that, is curate a great list of things that AI would apply really well to. So, that's that curated list that I think that, as a technology leader in our company, I would love if someone had curated one for us to say, here's the things that you really want it to solve. Here's how it should be applied. Here's your playbook. But everyone right now is having to make up that playbook. And so I believe we're trying to help create that playbook for our industry, for the agriculture industry, and for poultry producers that are listening to this, saying, here's the things that we think it applies really well to. We're building it into our technology directly, and we're not trying to sell any of the hype. We're not burying our heads in the sand. We're just bringing you these really concrete ways of using the technology and not feeling like you're falling behind or missing out.
That's amazing. Sometimes you need those people that are forward thinking just to consider the opportunities, and maybe your company doesn't pursue all of them, but you have the idea out there and you collaborate with some other people that could, or producers bring back ideas. I mean, yeah, it's a great way for everybody to move forward. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today about AI. I really liked hearing the differentiation between some of the different ways it can be used, and also makes it a bit less scary to know that even the people at the forefront are doing their their learning as well. So I love that.
We're all in it together, so we're not alone here for sure.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I love the path that your company is taking to move forward. So I love to hear those people forward facing and industry relevant companies that are pushing us all over the cliff to comply with some of the really cool stuff that's coming up.
That's great. Well, thanks for having me. It was great talking about it.
You're welcome.